And an impromptu movement is rising in Uruguay to help with the food crisis made worse by the pandemic. More and more people are relying on a network of volunteer kitchens, as Rafael Romo now reports.
While one group cuts vegetables on one side, the other group gets the pork ready. It's mid-afternoon in Montevideo, Uruguay's capital, and there's no time to waste. At this soup kitchen, hundreds of meals must be ready by dinner time. They call it the People's Pot. It's a group of volunteers with a noble mission, feeding those who have fallen on hard times due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Andrea Dorta is one of the volunteers working to feed the hungry. We're in a food crisis, one of the biggest ones we've had in the history of Uruguay, Dorta says. She was recently in their shoes. The single mother of a 3-year-old girl says she lost her job shortly into the pandemic and was left with a little more than the equivalent of $20 when a bag of diapers in Uruguay costs 13. It wasn't only diapers. I also had to pay the bills and other things, and the first help I got came from a place like this, she says. This is not the only People's Pot in Montevideo. According to a recent study, there are nearly 700 around the country, feeding at one point as many as 55,000 people. More than 60% of these soup kitchens didn't get any state funding and depend on donations and the work of volunteers. At one point, Homero Mederos was one of those standing in line outside, waiting for a warm meal. We're here because there aren't any jobs, he said. As dinner time approaches, the line outside gets longer. Every day there's a People's Pot. Hundreds of people show up, rain or shine, and we have to cook hundreds of meals. It's something we didn't see before the pandemic, the soup kitchen coordinator says. Uruguay is in an unusual situation. The World Bank says it stands out in Latin America for its high income per capita and low level of inequality and poverty. But the pandemic has pushed into poverty many who were previously in the lower middle class. People who now depend on the goodwill of many groups of volunteers who have made it their mission to see that in these hard times, no one goes to bed on an empty stomach. Rafael Romo, CNN.